Pinocchio, the story of the wooden puppet who wanted to become a real boy.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This is Pinocchio from 1940, Disney's second feature film and an absolute classic. Even for a movie that highlights kidnap and child slavery, I loved it so much my grandmother actually threatened to bin her copy of the movie if I kept watching it. True story, and to this day I'm not sure whether or not she was serious. It doesn't matter anyway, she doesn't have a VCR anymore. And despite it probably being in my top 10 list for Disney movies, I haven't actually seen the movie in at least 5 years. What a perfect time to recount stories! My grandmother had the 1995 version. We're going to look at the 2000 version because that is the only one I currently have in my possession. Well, not the only version of the movie, but we'll get to that later. Copyright notices, oh joy. Closed caption decoder, never had one, blah 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 blah.
Welcome to a world of fantasy, music, and magical entertainment. The Disney Video Collection. But don't be tempted to buy a cheap illegal pirate copy, or you might just hear about it from your children.
Mum, it's no good. The picture's all funny. I can't hear it.
Your mum wants a pirate copy, you can't hear it, and I doubt anyone else can either. I will admit one thing, compared to what's on The Lion King, it's certainly a very peppy warning. Sure, the narrator may sound serious, but the music sure as hell doesn't. Coming soon from Disney Videos. Now we have a promo for Sleeping Beauty. What is it in this series about having promos for movies I've never fucking seen? 12 episodes in and every time there's a promo for something I haven't seen. Well, I saw Fox and the Hound and I guess Singing Cattle World Tour, but that's about it for the series. I either haven't seen it or I'm super vague on it. Now we have Tarzan. Oh, for Christ's sake! I've seen it 2 or 3 times. My girlfriend loves the movie and loves Phil Collins. Yeah, I got nothing. I know Phil Collins at least. He's a lefty player, sort of like me. He loves Ringo, like me. Forget it. Available now on Disney Videos. Yeah, if you grew up with these videos, you'll memorize those words easily.
In the grand tradition of classic Disney animation, comes Walt Disney's original classic, The Aristocats.
Thank you! Finally, a movie I know incredibly well. This was one of my first Disney movies. I had to know this one, and I certainly do, and it was certainly good. It's no Lion King or Toy Story, but it was good. I'll have to cover this at some point. And here we have Mulan. And finally we begin. Jesus, so much I haven't seen.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are.
Oh, that song. We'll talk about that later. So this is Pinocchio. We have Geppetto, a lonely old man with a cat, a fish, and a fuck ton of clocks, who carves himself a wooden puppet and makes a wish on a star that his creation could be a real boy. That night, a freakish fairy breaks into the house, grants life into Pinocchio, and dubs a stray, eavesdropping cricket known as Jiminy as Pinocchio's conscience, and leaves it to him to teach the kid the difference between right and wrong. Why?
Prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish, and someday you will be a real boy.
A real boy!
That won't be easy.
There we go. The next hour or so features Pinocchio's disastrous attempts to get from point A to point B without a hint of trouble, whether it be sold into child labour for a puppet master called Stromboli, or be turned into a donkey by someone who runs a do-whatever-you-please amusement park.
Fine conscience. I turned out to be. Late the first day. Oh well. He can't get in much trouble between here and school.
Oh, if only he knew. That's basically Acts A and B of the movie. The introduction features the birth of Pinocchio, Act A begins the next day when he's trying to go to school, and Act B begins as Pinocchio tries to return home and is whisked away by Honest John to Pleasure Island. Both times Pinocchio does wrong, Jiminy tries to reassure/rescue him, they get busted the first time by the fairy who frees them with a warning, and they proceed to run like hell. After diving into the ocean and finally returning to an empty house, Pinocchio receives a heavenly note from the fairy stating that his old man was out looking for him and has been eaten by a massive whale known as Monstro. By some lucky stroke, Geppetto is still alive, and by another lucky stroke, Pinocchio doesn't swell at all when submerged in water. He may be alive, but he's still made of wood. That's the power of Disney for you. Big Boy decides to feed on fish, inadvertently crossing the path of Pinocchio and Jiminy. Pinocchio advises his old man to burn a massive amount of wood and make the whale sneeze. Whale goes boom, they escape on a raft, Pinocchio drags his father into a cave which Monstro proceeds to plough into, sending the heroes into a beach free of danger. Jiminy finds Pinocchio drowned in a pool. How he drowns there and not in a massive ocean, I will never know. Geppetto takes him home and the fairy revives Pinocchio and grants him flesh and blood, because if Little Nicky has taught us anything, self-sacrifice is the most noble thing you can do. The only difference here is that this is an actual good movie and Little Nicky is debatably bad. That's the basic gist of the movie, and what it teaches kids. Do the right thing, don't talk to strangers, and everything will be hunky-dory with life, unless you're a wooden boy with zero knowledge of what's good or bad, in which case you're probably screwed. And that wraps up Pinocchio. It's just as good as I remember. No closing promos, which surprises the heck out of me since nearly every Disney video I own has end promos. Yeah, what can you do? But you know, there is another video I need to talk about. It was December 1999, Christmas Day to be exact. I hadn't seen my grandmother in a few good months, so I was running without this movie for a decent bit of time. Obviously, I couldn't have that. So I've done what kids always do on Christmas Day, and I decided to have a browse through the TV guide. And what do you know, Pinocchio's going to be running at 12:05. That is totally the most convenient thing ever. I grabbed the first recordable tape I could find, and I was set to go. I came across this tape, again 18 years later, and I was surprised it still worked. I mean, sure, the video aged like milk left out in the summer heat, but it still worked. Massive nostalgia overload.
Say goodbye to 1999 from $1.99 at Sainsbury's, making life taste better.
I rest my case. Speaking of nostalgia, let's talk about When You Wish Upon a Star. It's one of the most iconic children's songs ever recorded. It's actually the signature song for the Disney company. Looks like this movie is very highly regarded. You know what, let's have a listen to the first verse of that song and relive our childhoods. I peg this version from this tribute album from 1988. Stay awake, various interpretations of music from vintage Disney films. What a title. And go figure, it's the last song on the album. Okay, let's have a listen.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you.
Motherfucking yes. As if I didn't love Pinocchio enough. Right, that's one of the most iconic Disney movies of all time covered. Time to put the videos back. The regular one goes in the cupboard here. And as for the ITV tape, this goes in the Recordable Fridays drawer. Every video I've ever covered is in this single drawer. Kids do record a lot when they have access to TV. Right, I know what I'm going to talk about next. Let's take two of these, tape number 1 and tape number 5.